Welcome to the Javea Community Group 3-week tour to South America, where we visited Peru, Argentina and Brazil.
We're all going on a summer holiday. No more working for a week or two. Fun and laughter on a summer holiday. No more worries for me or you for a week or two. We're going where the sun shines brightly. We're going where the sea is blue. We've seen it in the movies. Now let's see if it's true. Everybody has a summer holiday, doing things they always wanted to. So we're going on a summer holiday to make our dreams come true. For me and you. We're going where the sun shines brightly. We're going where the sea is blue. We've seen it in the movies. Now let's see if it's true. Everybody has a summer holiday, doing things they always wanted to. So we're going on a summer holiday to make our dreams come true. For me and you.
The first country we visited was Peru, where we stayed in the capital, known as the City of Kings, Lima. Founded by Conquistador Francisco Pizarro just 2 years after the Spanish invasion in 1535, Lima was once ranked as the richest and most important city in the Americas. This is the Plaza de Armas, the heart of the old town and the site of the original city. There's the government palace. Mass executions were performed in this square during the Spanish Inquisition. It was here also in 1821 that the Peruvians declared their independence. Originally built in 1625 and based on that of Jaén in Andalusia, Lima Cathedral suffered with the earthquake and was rebuilt in 1940. Inside are the remains of Francisco Pizarro. This is the Bishop's Palace, and here you can see one of the balconies and several more of the balconies that Lima is very famous for. The Church and Monastery of San Francisco is one of the most spectacular of Lima's colonial churches. It was one of the few buildings to survive the devastation of the 1746 earthquake. The mosaic tiles inside and also the cloisters are very much designed along the Andalusian style. This is the 17th century library. And this a painting of the Last Supper with a difference. The meal is koi, or guinea pig. I tried one, but it was a bit tough. The city's first cemetery, these underground tunnels contain the bones of some 75,000 people. In many places, they're stacked in geometric patterns, as you can see. Parque del Amor, or the Love Park, was opened on Valentine's Day 1993, and as you can see was very much inspired by Gaudi's Park Güell in Barcelona. In the center is this huge sculpture, El Beso, or the Kiss. And down below you can see the Rosa Nautica restaurant where we are going for lunch. Situated on the end of this Victorian pier, Rosa Nautica served the most superb food. I had one of their national dishes, ceviche, but I'm afraid there's not a picture of it. I was far too busy enjoying it. And they don't have far to go to catch their crabs. It was a fiesta, so all the locals were out surfing, hang gliding and enjoying the beaches. It doesn't rain much in Lima, but sadly there is also very little sun. This grey cloud looms over the city all year. A flight over the Andes takes us to our next destination, the Inca capital, Cusco. Sitting high in the Andes at an altitude of 3,400 meters, Cusco was once the military, political and cultural center of the Inca Empire. Known as Hayquepata, the Weeping Square in Inca times, the Plaza de Armas still remains the heart of the city. The Spanish destroyed most of the Inca monuments and palaces and buildings. However, many of the incredible walls still stand. Feeling somewhat lightheaded from the lack of oxygen, the following morning we had a walking tour of Cusco. This is Hatun Rumiyok, the Street of the Great Stone, famous for this 12-angled stone. We then visited the Coricancha, Temple of the Sun. the symbol of Inca, the puma, condor and snake. The Spanish built the Santo Domingo church on the site of the original temple. However, much of the cloister has now been gutted to reveal the original chambers. The original temple housed thousands of priests and also served as an astronomical observatory. These Inca wall paintings are of the Milky Way. In the times of the Inca, the walls were lined with 700 gold sheets weighing 2 kilos each. Unfortunately, these were melted down by the Spanish. You can see here the peg, which was how they joined their stones together. We then continued to walk through the streets of Cusco. These murals are dotted throughout the town and depict Cusco at the time of the Incas. That evening we went out for dinner and to watch one of the local shows. We now continue our journey through the sacred valley of the Incas, but first we stop for the views of Cusco. It took 20,000 men to build this vast Inca fortress, with some of the boulders being dragged 30 kilometers. The longest wall is 400 meters, and there is one huge block, 8.5 meters high, which weighs 360 tons. After the fateful battle in 1536, the Spanish wasted no time in dismantling the fortress and using the blocks of stone to build Spanish Cusco. Kenko, which means zigzag, was a temple dedicated to Mother Earth. Ritual ceremonies were performed here in fertility rites, solstice and equinox celebration. Inside, you can still see the stains of the sacrificial blood. We continue our journey through the countryside. This fissure was caused by the 1950 earthquake. We then stopped at Awana Cancha, which loosely translates as Palace of Weaving, where we had the opportunity to see the camels of Pachamama Vicuna and Guanaco from start to finish, the animal, the shearing, the textile weaving and dyeing, and the finished products, which we could purchase in the showroom. The locals live on site, and this is where they do their washing. We then had a picture stop for the classic view of the Urubamba Valley. And then on to Pisac's very colourful market. This is a section for the tourists. And this is a section for the locals, where they come from miles around every Tuesday and Sunday and barter with their goods. They have 46 different varieties of corn and 64 different varieties of potatoes in Peru. We then continue to our hotel in a monastery in Yucay. Tambo has been built on top of the original Inca foundations and is the best surviving example of Inca town planning. We visited one of the local houses. That is Muriel feeding the guinea pigs, which I'm quite certain will be somebody else's supper later on. This house was quite bizarre, actually. It had skulls and bones and all sorts of things over the walls. Guinea pigs everywhere. And little kittens that weren't interested in the guinea pigs. And the family all seemed to live in this room with everything else. And just for us, the school band were on parade. Rising 800 meters above the town are these rows of steep stone terraces that we are about to climb. These are the old Inca granaries, and according to legend, this is the face of a warrior carved into the mountain. "221 steps and we have reached the top, where the Inca fortress is situated. These massive stones came from a quarry across the valley. Thousands of workers dragged them around the river and then up a ramp that was built on the side of the mountain. It is incredibly windy out here. I can barely hold the camera still, but the views are quite superb. This is the Temple of the Sun, and you can still make out some of the ancient symbols. There you can see Tambo down below, and it was actually very hard work climbing down. We had a quick stop to taste the local beer, chicha, which is made of corn, and then continued past these snow-capped mountain peaks to the small village of Chinchero at 3,800 meters. Chinchero means birth of the rainbow, an obvious reference to its high altitude. It's a little town that specialises in textiles, but the altitude was causing us a few problems up here. We all got very out of breath and were quite relieved when we left to go back down to the lower village of Yucay. An early start as we board the train that will take us through the valley to Machu Picchu. This is where the hikers begin their 4-day Inca trail. We arrived at the small town of Aguascalientes, renamed Machu Picchu, at around 9 a.m. The railway lines run through the town, and in fact the only way to get here is by train or by hiking. We checked into our hotel, and this was followed by a rather hairy bus ride up to the lost city of the Incas, Machu Picchu. Hidden high in the clouds, Machu Picchu, meaning Old Peak, is one of the most beautiful ancient sites in the world. It escaped destruction from the Spanish and was rediscovered in 1911 by Hiram Bingham. Completely self-contained and surrounded by agricultural terraces sufficient to feed the population, watered by natural springs, it appears that Machu Picchu was built by the Inca as a secret ceremonial city. Over 100 flights of steep stone steps interconnect its palaces, temples, storehouses, houses and terraces, all in a remarkable state of preservation. Alpacas and llamas roam freely, keeping the grass cut, and are totally disinterested in any tourists. This really was an incredible place and one of the highlights for many on the tour. That is the road we're about to travel down to Aguas Calientes. The following day we weren't due to get our train back until 7 in the evening, so many of us spent the day walking down alongside the river, visiting the museum and the botanical gardens. Diane photographing the plants and birds. This is the national flower, the contuta, and these are Peruvian tomatoes. You have to walk through the market in order to get to the railway station. We weren't tempted, we're just sitting quietly waiting for the train, albeit some a little tired. Although I had a front seat, it was far too dark to film. But this was some of the on-train entertainment. And of course a fashion show. And some of us trying on the clothes, but the prices were absolutely horrendous. We had 2 more nights in Cusco, so I decided to do a little filming of the Plaza de Armas at night. That is a statue of Cristo Blanco up in Sexy Woman that overlooks Cusco. A 7 a.m. start at the station, we are ready to board the Andean Explorer for our 10-hour trip to Lake Titicaca. And so we bid farewell to Cusco, having had a wonderful time in Cusco, the Sacred Valley and Machu Picchu. Now it's time to enjoy the luxury of the Peru Rail Orient Express, and first of all, breakfast. After which, we travel through the most spectacular scenery and countryside, passing flocks of alpacas, camels, sheep, little villages, until we reach the highest point at 4,300 meters, La Rea. course, there is a little bit of entertainment on board as well. And it's Michael's birthday. What can I say? All of the towns we passed through appear to have markets. These are the taxis racing each other. And all the goods laid out on the track and beside the track. Whilst on board, it's siesta time. Morag and Sylvie enjoying the views. The landscape was constantly changing. We've actually been on board now for about 4.5 hours. And we're coming up to our stop at Javea. You can see there the snow-capped mountains as we're climbing higher. As Leslie ready to get off, we are just about to stop. This was the highest point of our whole trip. And I have to say the air was noticeably thin.
It's a bit colder up here.
On board, it was time for lunch. After lunch, the weather got darker and darker, and we had a storm. The landscape also got a lot starker. However, it was soon time for more entertainment and a little pisco sour. Cheers. We are now passing through Juliaca. It took about 25 minutes and it was like this all the way. That is the train station. They had a fiesta on. I'm not certain what it was for, but it lasted for about 4 kilometers. This was a most enjoyable journey, which lasted about 10 hours, and the train stopped outside our hotel on Lake Titicaca. According to Andean legend, Lake Titicaca was the birthplace of civilization. Another early start, as today we set out on Lake Titicaca, first to visit the Uros Islands. There are 45 floating islands in the Bay of Puno, all made by hand from tortilla reeds that grow in abundance in the shallow waters of the lake. On the majority of them, the Uros Indians live in isolation. However, a few are set up for tourists, and this is how they make their living. We visited the island of Sumatra. The reeds are apparently very good for indigestion, and also if you rub them on your head, they get rid of headaches, etc. The islands are built in layers, a new one being added every 3 months as the bottom one rots in the water. The hat comes from the UK and is worn by married women. Here they're showing us some of their customs. And their houses. I'm not at all certain what Warren's doing. Call me a cynic, but I don't believe these people actually lived on this island. He's got a television. It's very weird to walk on. Nonetheless, they gave us a good show.
I love it.
My bunny is over the ocean. My bunny is over the ocean. Open my bunny to me. Bring my, oh, bring my bunny to me, to me. Bring my, oh, bring my bunny to me, to me.
At 3,800 meters, Lake Titicaca is the world's highest navigable lake. It is 176 kilometers long and 50 kilometers wide. It is more or less evenly shared between Peru and Bolivia, although on some maps, Peru is called Lake Titi, whilst Bolivia is called Lake Caca. Our next stop was Tequil Island, although I have to say that at this altitude it was very hard work to actually get up to where we were having lunch. It was a long climb of about 45 minutes. Although the views were certainly worth it. The island is only 1 kilometer wide by 5 kilometers long and rises to a height of 264 meters. There is no electricity and there are no vehicles. Back on the boat, it's a 2.5 to 3 hour journey back to our hotel. Or so we think. After about an hour, the boat started to develop engine problems. The skipper fixed it. but then we broke down. Our guide, whose name I don't even recall, was the most incompetent person at steering that I have ever known. The boat trip back was absolutely horrendous. He had no idea, as you can see. Eventually I went and got the captain and I said, somebody else must take over the wheel. He took over the wheel and we arrived back safely, albeit a little late, to our hotel. This was our last night in Peru. We were off to Buenos Aires the next day. The next part of our journey was Argentina and the beautiful city of Buenos Aires. With its wide boulevards, leafy parks, grand buildings, and various cultures, Buenos Aires is the most European of all Latin American cities. It is very reminiscent of Paris or Barcelona. Situated in the Plaza de Mayo, Buenos Aires Cathedral is considered to be the most important church in Argentina. Apart from its many beautiful chapels and statues, the cathedral houses the remains and mausoleum of General San Martin, considered to be the liberator of Argentina. The Plaza de Mayo is the political and historical heart of the city. This banner celebrates the heroes of the Falklands War. The Plaza's main feature is the very pink Casa Rosada, the presidential palace. Originally the city fort, it was remodeled in the 18th century when painting stately buildings pink was more common and ox blood was used to create the colour. This is Evita's famous balcony. The monument to San Martin and the Pyramid de Mayo, erected in 1811 in honour of the 1810 May Revolution, for which the plaza was renamed. Argentina Big Ben was the English community's contribution to the 1910 centenary celebration. Both during and after the Falklands War, there was talk of demolishing it. Called the Gran Gomera, this tree was planted in 1878 and is 50 meters wide. Since its creation in 1881, an estimated 350,000 people have been interred at this cemetery. It is the final resting place of many of the wealthiest and most important Argentine historical figures. The tombs themselves range from simple headstones to incredible masterpieces. About 75 cats roam among the tombs, looked after by women volunteers. The most famous tomb in the cemetery is that of Evita, Eva Perón. As the wife of President Juan Perón, she became the spiritual leader of the nation and the champion of the underprivileged. A vast cult grew around her, which since her death in 1952, at the age of 33, has never faded. There is a lot of controversy surrounding her burial. During a period of hysterical mass mourning across Argentina, a military coup overthrew Perón's government. Vita's body was stolen and defiled to prevent rebellion, and then secretly buried in Italy for 16 years. Once this was revealed, the exiled Perón had the corpse dug up and placed in his house in Spain. In 1974, he was reinstated as president. Evita was brought home to Argentina and eventually buried in the tomb of her father's family, the Duartes. Historically, La Boca is Buenos Aires' Little Italy, the main point of entry for Italians at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. Many of the immigrants settled into haphazardly built houses with metal sheeting called conventillos. These were decorated with whatever paint was left over on the docks, creating a mishmash of colours on each building. Over the past 20 years, the port has experienced a transformation, and it's now here where you find the most expensive properties in Buenos Aires. All the streets in this neighborhood are named after women, and this bridge by Santiago Calatrava is called the Bridge of Women. The pedestrian areas of Laval, Calle Cordoba and Calle Florida are the main shopping streets in this city, and you can quite literally shop until you drop. I love Buenos Aires, and it's certainly one place that I would like to return to. We only had one day of rain on the entire trip, and this was the day we visited the Santa Susana Ranch. Here the gaucho is preparing our lunch of beef, spare ribs, chicken and sausages, all served up with a variety of tasty salads. After we'd eaten lunch, they put on a show.
Eso, vamos, que se viene. Esa, gaucho. Ahí vamos. Esa, gaucho, equilibrio, ahí está.
A lot of fun enjoyed by all. The rain has stopped, but the mud is thick as we adjourn outside to watch the skills of the gauchos. The gaucho has to capture the small ring on a stick before he can win the woman he loves. This one's presented his ring to Sylvie, but in fact she did come back with us. Then a few horse rides with the gauchos. It's Sylvie, Muriel flashing by, and Bill, who was very miffed that she got the old gaucho and not one of the younger. Our time in Buenos Aires has come to an end. Tomorrow morning we fly to Iguazu and the Argentinian side of the falls. From Buenos Aires we flew to Iguazu. Composed of over 250 separate cascades and straddling the border between Argentina and Brazil, the Iguazu Falls are quite simply the world's most dramatic waterfalls. We are aboard the Jungle Eco Train, which will take us to the first of the trails that we will be following. The vast majority of the falls lie on the Argentina side in this park. It also offers the most extensive experience of the falls thanks to its well thought out system of trails and catwalks which take us both below and above the Cascades. We are heading first to the Garganta del Diablo, Devil's Throat. The Devil's Throat is one of the largest waterfall displays in the world and very difficult to describe unless you're actually there. It really is quite incredible. 1,800 cubic meters of water per second hurtle over this 3-kilometer semicircle of rock into the river canyon 70 meters below. There are a lot of species of birds. Coatis, a relative of the raccoon, and over 250 species of butterflies. They're really quite friendly. As well as lizards and some rather nasty creepy crawlies that I did not film. The train takes us to the lower circuit, which winds down through the forest, bringing us within meters of some of the smaller but still spectacular waterfalls. There were some incredible rainbows, as you will see. Virginia came from Iguazu and was absolutely passionate about the falls. We spent nearly 7 hours at the Argentina Falls. We're having a quick coffee stop here before the bus comes to collect us to take us to the hotel for the night. We're joined by this raccoon. You have to keep your bags, purses, and just about everything out of the way because they steal anything. We've now crossed the border and are in Brazil. Before we visited the falls on the Brazilian side, many of us decided to view them from the helicopter. And this is the view of the national park and of the falls that I filmed from the helicopter. It is said that the Argentinian side puts on the show, but the Brazilian side has the best seats. That I would fully agree with. This chap came to join us. It was bath time. I thought I might teach my cat how to do this. They have absolutely no fear. Time to don the plastic ponchos. We're about to get very wet. For 2 days we visited the falls. They were in full flow. They had had more rain and there was more water cascading over than there had been in 3 years, so we were very lucky. Certainly it was a most incredible sight, and I can only agree with Eleanor Roosevelt. When she visited Iguazu, she said, "Poor Niagara." You can see just how fierce this water is coming over here, and the noise was unbelievable. The youngsters had a field day. I'd never seen so much water in my life, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I speak for us all when I say this was the most incredible experience, and one of, if not the highlight of the tour. Quite amazing. The final destination on the tour was Rio de Janeiro. Our hotel was situated at the Copacabana, which of course is best known for its amazing wide sandy beach that stretches for 4 kilometers. The beach is hugely popular with both residents and tourists. and is always a hive of activity. Displaying the Brazilians' passion for sport, joggers and walkers use the wavy black and white mosaic path, cyclists whiz by in the cycle lane, and the beach soccer pitches and volleyball courts are in constant use. Pão de Açúcar, or Sugarloaf Mountain as it is known, is a natural wonder which was formed 600 million years ago out of granite and quartz. The name comes from the 17th century when sugarcane was the primary export, and upon completion of the process the finished product was packed into bread-like loaves for shipment, hence the name Sugarloaf. Reaching the top is by cable car in 2 stages. First rises 224 meters up Urca Hill. We stopped at the first stage for 20 minutes. From here you generally have the best view of the statue of Christ the Redeemer, but it wasn't that clear. Also here is the heliport if you want to have the aerial ride over Rio, but at $200 for 10 minutes we declined. You can see from here some of the many bays. This is a small airport, not the main airport. And these the original cable cars. We then take the second cable car to the top, which is an altitude of 528 meters. That is the Copacabana. The other way up, of course, is to climb. I don't think so. We now have a short tour of Rio before our next visit, which is to the Metropolitan Cathedral. Completed in 1976, it's an impressive piece of modern architecture, whatever you think of the style. This is a statue of St. Francis of Assisi. The cathedral is vast. It stands 83 meters high, a diameter of 104 meters, and a capacity of 20,000 people. 4 huge stained glass windows dominate the inside of the cathedral, each measuring 60 meters by 20 meters. They meet in a cross at the top. The next stop on our tour is the Corcovado station. We boarded the train for the 20-minute journey up to the statue of Christ the Redeemer. Travelling through the rainforest, you see there Englishman's Hill Station. Glimpses of Rio below. Some very bizarre statues. And here you get the perfect view of Rio.